Warning. The following video contains graphic content, such as torture, betrayal, blood, cannibalism, murder, and other disturbing context. If none of this is to your liking, then you are advised to walk away now. You have been warned.
The Cutie Mark Killers.
Twilight Sparkle stared at the tree in disbelief. This couldn't be happening. It was like a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. As she looked on, memories welled up inside of her. Her first slumber party, the Best Young Flyers competition, the countless adventures to save Ponyville. Tears started to silently flow from Twilight's eyes. She blinked, and then gazed directly into the pair of muted red irises. She was looking into the dead eyes of Rainbow Dash, one of her closest friends. Dash had been crudely crucified to the tree, with 4 nails going through her wings and her rear legs. A final nail was driven through her skull. As if the torture wasn't enough, Dash's throat had been slit. Twilight turned away in disgust. She couldn't have imagined that anyone would be sick enough to do this. She looked over to Fluttershy. The poor thing was in shock. She was staring unblinking at Rainbow Dash, her mouth hanging open slightly. Her wings had unfurled slightly. Twilight turned to the police officers.
Why did you bring us here?
We needed next of kin to identify and claim the body.
One of them said.
Since none could be found, we turned to her associates.
Twilight couldn't help but roll her eyes, as if Rainbow Dash was hard to identify.
Have you found anything about who did this?
She asked. Said the other officer.
I guess that's a no.
Twilight thought. She paused to look over the scene. Dried blood was everywhere. Hoofprints were left from where the investigation had been working. It didn't look like they had taken much care to avoid contamination. Twilight squinted at one of the sets of prints. It looked a lot smaller than the others. She looked around a little and found the same tracks everywhere. Especially around the base of the tree. Twilight moved closer to inspect the branches around Rainbow Dash. The same hoofprints were imprinted in the blood that covered the branches. It was as if a filly had climbed the tree while Rainbow Dash was nailed there.
What kid would climb all over a dead body and not tell any pony?
Twilight thought. She backed away from the tree, taking care not to let her gaze linger on her deceased friend. It had been bad enough to see the remains of Cheerily and Applejack, but this was different. It was as if Rainbow Dash had been put on display for everyone to see. There was no attempt to hide the crime. It seemed like whoever was doing this had stopped caring about secrecy.
Are we free to go now?
Twilight asked the officers.
Of course, ma'am.
One replied.
We can escort you back to Ponyville if you like.
Twilight glanced at Fluttershy. The pale Pegasus was still rooted into the same spot, staring at Rainbow Dash.
No, thank you, officers. I think we just need to be alone right now.
Twilight replied.
Alright then, be careful. If you know anything that might help the investigation, come by the station.
Twilight nodded and started to leave. However, she noticed that Fluttershy wasn't moving.
Fluttershy?
Twilight asked. Fluttershy made no response. She just stood there, staring. Her wings were now completely open. Twilight guessed it had some sort of defense reflex. Carefully, she stepped between Fluttershy and the tree, breaking her gaze.
Fluttershy, we need to leave now.
She said gently.
The police need to continue their investigation.
Fluttershy only gave a choked squeak in response. However, her eyes sank to the ground, and she turned towards Ponyville. The two started to head home. There was nothing Twilight could say to the shell-shocked Fluttershy to make anything better, so they walked in silence. An hour later, they crossed the bridge that led to Fluttershy's cottage. Without a word, Fluttershy turned towards her home. Her wings now hung loosely at her sides. It was as if Fluttershy was too depressed to even fold them up properly.
Are you going to be okay?
Asked Twilight nervously. Fluttershy stopped. She slowly raised her head and looked towards the evergreen forest. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She cleared her throat and tried again.
I'll be fine.
Twilight nodded and began to walk towards the library. She made a mental note to check on Fluttershy later. Despite what she said, Twilight doubted that the fragile mare would easily recover from seeing her friend like that. Twilight walked through the streets of Ponyville in solitary misery. She barely even noticed the ponies she passed by on her way home. However, she was suddenly snapped out of her depression when Sweetie Belle bumped into her as she sprinted from the carousel boutique across town.
Sweetie Belle! You really need to watch where you're going!
Twilight trailed off as Sweetie Belle had continued her breakneck pace towards the outskirts of town. Twilight squinted at the filly as she ran away. Stranger still, Twilight could have sworn there was a cutie mark on her flank. Twilight shrugged and continued walking.
Let some pony else deal with it,
she thought. She just wanted to get to her bed and rest. Across town, she saw Spike walking towards the boutique. The little dragon had the slightest spring in his step. Twilight smiled slightly as she watched him.
There goes the brave knight, off to comfort his princess.
Twilight thought with amusement. She stopped suddenly when she thought of Rarity. Her friend needed to know what happened. She hesitated when she noticed that Spike had entered the boutique. This wouldn't be easy for the dragon to hear. However, Twilight knew that she would have to tell him eventually. It would be easiest when both she and Rarity were present. Twilight steeled herself and trotted towards the boutique. As she got closer, she heard Spike's voice.
There you are, Rarity. Oh, I've been kind of worried about you.
Then there was silence, followed by a muffled thud. Panic brought on by her already frayed nerves drove Twilight to sprint the rest of the way at the sound of the disturbance. Her mind immediately jumped to several worst-case scenarios.
Please be okay, please be okay, please be okay!
Twilight burst through the open door. She looked around. Her heart skipped a beat at what she saw. There, on the ground, was Spike. Tears welled up in her eyes.
No, not Spike. Please.
Twilight unconsciously held her breath and cautiously edged towards his prone figure. As she neared, she could see his chest gently rising and lowering. Twilight exhaled and slumped to the ground in relief. She moved closer to Spike to inspect him. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with the dragon. It just looked like he passed out. Twilight looked around the boutique. There was a line of mannequins along the far wall. One was different from the others, however. A chill ran down Twilight's spine. In an instant, she knew what caused Spike to faint. There, in the middle of the row of mannequins, was the corpse of a horribly disfigured unicorn. Although its face had been mutilated and cuts crisscrossed its body, there was no mistaking who it was. Twilight let out a small whimper. She had just seen Rarity a few hours ago. She was perfectly fine when Twilight left her. now she was. The trauma of the week's events suddenly came down on Twilight. She collapsed, sobbing. Images flashed in her head. Cheerly, Sakura, Applejack, Pinky, Rainbow Dash, and now Rarity. They were all gone. Every friend she had was being taken away from her, one by one. Twilight got to her hooves again. Anger flashed in her eyes. She would find whoever was responsible and bring them to justice. She needed to get to the police station. She had to tell someone. Twilight swallowed hard, not looking forward to breaking the news to Rarity's family.
Wait a minute.
Twilight thought.
I just saw Sweetie Belle running from here. Maybe she knows something.
Her heart racing, Twilight glanced at Spike. He was still out cold. She gently lifted him onto a nearby couch, then raced out the door.
Okay, first, find Sweetie Belle, and find out if she knows what happened. Then, the police station.
Twilight bolted through Ponyville. She had seen the general direction where Sweetie Belle had gone. If Twilight had to guess, she was headed for the tree fort on the outskirts of town. It wasn't long before she was there. When she neared the tree, Twilight paused to catch her breath. She walked forward, trying to appear as calm as possible. It wouldn't help if Sweetie Belle saw her in hysterics. As she approached the ladder leading to the clubhouse, she heard Sweetie Belle talking to someone. It sounded like Scootaloo and Applebloom.
They are going to get a nice little surprise when they walk in.
How'd you manage that?
She taught me some basic sewing stuff. The rest I just improvised.
We could have used that when we were cleaning up after Cheerily.
Twilight stopped cold. Her mind again raced to conclusions, but she tried to suppress it. Still, she couldn't help but tiptoe the rest of the way to the ladder. She carefully started to climb, trying to be as quiet as possible.
I guess I forgot. Well, anyway, we had to figure out where we're going to go now the police are after us.
We don't know that they're after us.
Applebloom, that's 6 ponies we've taken out. The cops are bound to pick up our trail eventually.
Twilight silently gasped. Her heart raced.
Stay calm.
She told herself.
It's just some stupid game they're playing.
She craned her neck to look between the crack under the door. She saw the 3 Cutie Mark crusaders sitting around a small table. Sweetie Belle was the closest, and beside her, Twilight saw what she had been carrying when they bumped into each other earlier. It was a long knife. The blade was covered in blood. Twilight cried slightly, then shoved her hoof into her mouth in panic. It was too late. Scootaloo's head turned towards the noise, and she ran to the door. She flung it open, catching Twilight on the forehead with it. Stars exploded in Twilight's vision as she was knocked back off the ladder. She hit the ground hard, driving the air from her lungs. Some part of her noticed the 3 crusaders standing in the doorway with fear in their eyes.
Busted,
said Sweetie Belle dumbly. Scootaloo grabbed the knife from the ground. With a snarl, she leapt from the doorway, raising the blade above her head. Twilight couldn't move. There was no time. Everything seemed to move slower as Scootaloo brought the knife down, aimed directly at Twilight's heart. Twilight could see the fury in her face as she fell. Without thinking, Twilight summoned her magic. A basic pushback spell, brilliant purple, and she tried to release a wave of energy towards her attacker. This, combined with her frayed nerves, caused Twilight to momentarily lose concentration. Without realizing it, Twilight dumped nearly all of her energy into the single spell. A brilliant purple explosion lit the area. Scootaloo was rocketed upwards. With a resounding crack, she flew through one of the branches of the tree and continued straight up for another 20 feet. For a moment, she just seemed to hover in the air. Then she fell. There was a faint snap when she impacted the ground. Scootaloo was still. Her neck was bent at an unnatural angle, and a sliver of bone poked through her front leg. Blood started to pool around her. The knife landed beside her, its blade sinking into the ground. Sweetie Belle and Applebloom stared down at their unmoving friend. Tears welled in Applebloom's eyes, while Sweetie Belle just stared, mouth agape. In unison, they both turned to Twilight, who was struggling to collect herself after her strenuous spell. Sweetie Belle was the first to act.
You monster!
She screamed, her voice cracking in fury. Sweetie Belle telekinetically grabbed the knife from the ground. With a snarl, she flung it with all of the force she could muster. The blade flew through the air towards Twilight's chest. It sank into her skin, cutting through muscle. With a shock, Twilight felt the tips sinking into her ribs. The impact knocked the wind out of her, stopping her from screaming out from the sudden pain. Sweetie Belle and Applebloom dropped to the ground. Sweetie Belle grabbed the knife and tore it from Twilight.
You killed her!
She shrieked.
You killed her!
Sweetie Belle lunged forward with the knife, stabbing upwards. The blade disappeared below Twilight's chin. It sliced through the soft tissue and nearly cut her tongue in half. Sweetie Belle pushed until she felt resistance of the roof of Twilight's mouth. Twilight cried out in agony as the blade slammed into her.
You killed her! Now you are going to die, right here, right now.
Twilight Sparkle stared into Sweetie Belle's eyes in horror. She knew the filly wasn't bluffing. She tried to escape, but Sweetie Belle held her head steady with the knife. In desperation, Twilight reached for her magic once again. Applebloom saw her horn glowing and aimed a savage butt towards Twilight's forehead. Her hooves met with the base of Twilight's horn, and with a resounding snap, it broke cleanly off. A cold emptiness filled Twilight as the connection to her magical energy was instantly severed. Twilight's heart nearly stopped cold. The pain was indescribable. Every nerve in her head felt as if it had been split open. She didn't know if she was alive or dead. All that she was conscious of was the volcano of agony that was erupting from her destroyed horn. Then, as quickly as the pain came, it faded away. Twilight went limp. She was emotionally drained. The trauma of losing her horn was too much for her to bear. She wasn't even aware of what Sweetie Belle was doing with the knife. Sweetie Belle pulled down on it, drawing a line straight down Twilight's throat. Instantly, a torrent of blood poured from the wound. As she finished the cut, the inside of Twilight's windpipe was completely exposed. Sweetie Belle was finished. With tears in her eyes, she turned away from Twilight to look at Applebloom.
Come on, we need to get going.
What about Scootaloo?
Asked Applebloom. Sweetie Belle looked at Scootaloo's body. The little Pegasus still hadn't moved. Blood no longer flowed from the injury on her leg.
She's gone, Applebloom.
Sweetie Belle said.
We have to leave her. We need to be far away by the time some pony finds Miss Sparkle's body.
Applebloom said nothing, but nodded. Twilight looked at them from the ground. She couldn't move, but she was still conscious enough to see her surroundings. It was here that Twilight got her only good look at Sweetie Belle's cutie mark. Unlike her friends, Sweetie Belle's was simple and unassuming. It was just a broken hourglass, nothing more. Twilight pondered this in the last few moments of her life. Her vision faded first. Her other senses followed. Finally, there was nothing. Twilight slipped into the void. The element of magic died.
And that, mortals, ends our tale. I would like to give my thanks to my loyal subjects who have participated in this harvest. This world was created by an author known as Squarks. You can find all of my participating subjects in the description, such as my VAs, the artist, and the author. We are very pleased for your cooperation in this harvest. We look forward to it again soon. But now, Crimson, it's time for you to feed.
I wish I had some slime in hand. I know that sounds weird, but I wish I did. Like I want to squish something. I want to squish it. Squish it and squash it and flip it around. Oh, stop going to black screen computer. Oh, Crimson's gonna be so mad. Cause I give him all this stuff that he needs to sort through. I know it's fun and all to do. Hey, there's my line. But I know it's fun and all to like do this kind of stuff. But then it gets kind of irritating. It gets kind of irritating when like you have to dig through stuff. And I know it's bad, but it's fun for the voice actors to like talk and talk and talk and talk. Well, and then it's like it's not much work for them, for us to do it. But I know it's going to be a lot of work for you because you're the editor and director. We could have used that when we were cleaning after Cheerly. We could have used that when we were cleaning after Cheerly. We could have used that when we were cleaning after Cheerly. We could have used that when we were cleaning after Cheerly. Why do I do this to myself? We could have used that when we were cleaning after Cheerly. I think that's enough of that line. Ooh, there's Little Lynn. I don't know that. We don't don't know if they're after us. That's not the line. If they're after us. We don't know if that they're after... We don't know if that they're after us. Ooh. We don't know that they're after us. I swear to God, if that heat comes on. We don't know if they're after us. I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna stop that line. Unless... stop burping. What about Scootaloo? Heat. The heat is gonna be the death of me. No, forget the Cutie Mark Killers. Friggin' Sweetie Belle. Apple Bloom is going to be taken away by this heat. This heater is going to be the death of me. Please, stop. 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 Oh, forget it. I'll work over it. What about Scootaloo? What about Scootaloo? Sweetie Belle looked at Scootaloo's body. Oh my God! Scootaloo's dead. I think. I don't know. Again, I'm not reading this. I'm just going by my line. Scootaloo. Scootaloo. Where's the stick? I'm gonna poke her. Scootaloo. Scootaloo, you better not die on me. Scootaloo. Scootaloo. Oh, she's dead. Oh, her lifeless body, she's dead. Oh, wait, is that the end of it? What about Scootaloo? What about, what? Wait, they just got it. Right out scot-free, I don't know. The element of magic died. What? There has to be a sequel of this or something. Like,
The Cora is late to use a Cora. Cora? I don't know if I did this Cora right, so hope I did. Alright.
Okay, so this is chapter 7 right here. Alright, yeah, chapter 7, the police officer 2 has 2 lines, it appears. Let me see, is it 2? Yes, it is 2. So I can record those real quickly for you. Reading next again. Since none could be found, we turn to us. Fuck. Since none could. Why is that so hard? Of course, ma'am. Aye, Twilight. We can ask. Alright. I believe that's it. Hopefully I did the right police officer. I think I was number 2. But I'm sure you'll tell me if I was wrong. Oh, Twilight dies at the end of this. Oh, fuck. You killed the best pony, you fucker. You motherfuckers. You will pay for this! You son of a bitch!
What kid would climb over blah, pony, banana. Anyway, redo.
Ha! Ow, mother!
Ow.
It was as if a filly had climbed the tree while Rainbow Dash was nailed there. Fuck you! And there's another one. Fuck off! The same footprints were implanted. No, I'm sorry. Fuck! This is why fucking cars got me all mixed up with the goddamn lines. It was as if a filly had climbed the tree while Rainbow Dash was nailed. Fuck you! Oh my god. There was nothing Twilight could say to show the... Fuck. There was nothing Twilight could say to the shell-shocked Fluttershy to make anything better. Oh my god, how many cars are now? And there's another one. Fuck all of you. Twilight trailed off as Sweetie Belle had continued her neck. Fuck! Twilight would have sworn there was a cutie mark on her flank. How many fucking cars are at this time of night? Stranger still, Twilight had... Fuck you cars, you made me mess up. However, Twilight knew that she would have to tell him eventually, and it would... A chill ran down Twilight's spine. I want to punch every single driver I see now. Although its face had been manipulated. Mutilated. Fuck! She was perfectly fine when Twilight left her. It wouldn't help if Sweetie Belle saw her in hysterics. How many fucking cars are out tonight? Like, fuck me, man. When she neared the tree, Twilight paused. Wait, I already fucking shit, I read this line. Twilight could see the fury in her face as she fell. Fuck. I hesitated. Unlike her friends, Sweetie Belle's was simple and under the... How many fucking cars are out tonight? Oh my god!
No, if you don't like my voice, it doesn't matter. But thank you, Crimson, for making me be a part of this. I know I wasn't your first choice as Apple Bloom. Like when I first saw I was a second choice, it hurt a little bit, but I got over it because it's not gonna be the best thing in the I'm not gonna be the best one in the fandom for most voices, for any voice for that matter. Queen Ketchup. I know it seems weird to call you that. Agent. Thank you for letting me be a part of your stuff. I haven't done anything for you yet, but I'm just saying, because we've talked so much, and then you were in a project that I just joined, and you knew them for years. I think it's just... It's a furry video game thing, and it's hard to explain. There's a whole bunch going on for, drama reasons and project reasons and all that other stuff, but again, thank you all for supporting this project. Thank you all for supporting me in my time of need. I've been in the hospital back and forth. I just got out of the ER yesterday morning. Actually, I just got out of ER, yesterday morning. It's yesterday now. Because the sickness went up again. And, I'm so glad to have fans and friends like you who support me throughout everything. I won't spare you any more time. Just thank you for being there and supporting this project. God, I'm sounding like Markiplier. You know what? Because of it, I might as well do the Markiplier outro. And as always, I'll see you, not in the next video, but in the next project. Bye-bye.